I've been drawing for well over 7 years now, but despite that, I've never properly learned the fundamentals. So, can I learn in 7 days what I've been avoiding for over 7 years? Hi, my name is Oyin Orca, a VTuber who tries to draw. And despite drawing for a long time, I've mostly been drawing what's fun to me and neglecting a lot of the basics. While I did the very occasional face study, I've never really intentionally sat down to study fundamentals, and I feel like because of that, my art hasn't been improving significantly in the last several years. Thankfully, there's a ton of online resources that you can use to improve your art and do studies, and one of the platforms that you can use to study art happens to also be the sponsor of today's video, Skillshare. Skillshare is the largest online learning community for creatives with thousands of classes led by industry experts across illustration, design, animation, film, photography, entrepreneurship, and more. Skillshare classes are designed for creatives by creatives for all skill levels. So whether you're a total beginner or have some experience in a subject, there's a class on Skillshare for you. I'm super happy that they sponsored this video because that also means that I get access to the classes on their platforms and also get to provide you guys with a free trial link too. For this video, I'll be following along Brent Eveston's How to Draw, a Beginner's Guide class, as well as his Form and Space class too. I chose these two from him because it seems to give a solid base on lines, shapes, forms, and other fundamentals, and seems to be designed for both beginners and experienced artists alike. I'm also going to be trying the Exercises for Dynamic Figure Drawing class by Siobhan Toomey, which goes over tips and exercises to improve your figure and gesture drawings. On Skillshare, all classes are on demand and learn at your own pace, and there are also projects that you can create and share after completing each class too, which helps to really learn by actually doing instead of just watching. So, if you're interested in learning on Skillshare and following along with the exact same courses that I am, the first 500 people to use my link in the description will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Get started today! So without further ado, I'm gonna get started today, and so let's go straight into my 7-day training. Because of the amount of art fundamentals involved, I will obviously not be attempting every single art fundamental, but I will be primarily focusing on 3 things: shapes, form, and gesture. I'll be trying to follow this general schedule with about 2 days for each class, and use the final day to try and apply what I learned into a drawing. Since some of the classes are quite long, and I also have other things going on in life, I may be skimming through some of them, or watching at 2 times speed. But without further ado, let's go straight into day 1. We're starting right off with How to Draw, a Beginner's Guide. Firstly, Brent goes over the overhand grip and how to get certain strokes using a pencil. However, I'll be following along using my drawing tablet, so I'll try to mimic it the best I can. Thankfully, there are pencil brushes on Clip Studio Paint, so I'll be using these pencil brushes, which are linked in the description down below. As he moves into shapes, we begin with circles and ovals, and Brent starts off by demonstrating how even a complex drawing of a bird originates from simple ovals. Basically, all forms, no matter how complex, can be simplified into basic shapes, and by understanding how to draw those shapes, you'll be able to draw any subject. As I'm following along, I won't go too into detail on every single method and technique, and mostly I'll just be focusing on summarizing very briefly what I learn, as well as the exercises I do as I follow along. But an important technique that he mentions is what he calls pantomiming the line. This is essentially where you first go through the motion of drawing the circle without even letting your pen touch the page, and once you get the motion down, you tilt your pencil down just slightly to draw the circle. Our first few projects are 100 freehand circles, 100 freehand ovals, 100 lines, and 100 straight edge shapes. As I'm drawing this, I'm trying to keep in mind the teachings, as Brent emphasizes to draw lightly and use long, fluid strokes. He also mentions that it's nearly impossible to draw a freehand circle or straight line perfectly, and there are compasses and rulers for when you need that perfect circle or line. But relatively straight lines, circles, and curves are the basis for most forms. So they're important for us to learn, and in some cases, having some imperfect curves or lines helps the drawing look less technical and more natural. I definitely did not draw 100 of each shape, and also I let a lot of my shapes overlap, but I think having them overlap weirdly allows for some interesting play in shapes as well. Technically speaking, I'm sure I've drawn more than 100 shapes in the last 7 years, so for now let's move on. Now that we finished the first section of homework assignments, we're moving into beyond basic shapes, including ovoids, bent ovals, and bent rectangles and triangles, as well as composite shapes. The next exercise is to play around with spacing, concave and convex shapes, smooth and sharp edges, and even stretching the distance while bending the ovoid shapes. The project for this time is to draw 25 of each of the beyond basic shapes, and he also encourages us to experiment with spacing out these 2 ovals further apart, playing around with concave and convex shapes, smooth and sharper edges, and even stretching the distance while bending these shapes. This applies for not only ovoids, but rectangles, triangles, and combining the shapes as well. And with that, although some of my composite shapes don't look too great, I'll go ahead and call it a day. And with that, we finished day 1. Now let's move into day 2. For day 2, we're starting off with simplifying shapes. Basically, Brent emphasizes how you need to answer 5 questions when you're trying to simplify any subject. Number 1, what is the biggest shape? Number 2, what is its axis? Number 3, how big should it be? Number 4, where on the page should it go? And number 5, what changes do I need to make? The example given is simplifying a bird, so I go ahead and also do so, using photos of birds from Unsplash as my references. I draw a variety of birds, including parrots, eagles, seagulls, and small birds, and as I draw them, sometimes I draw them twice. I found that the fifth part of the question, what changes do I need to make, to be particularly helpful. When I draw something at first, I don't always make the correct guess on the best way to simplify a subject, so I find that drawing it again and correcting or changing things to be helpful and a good learning exercise. Next, we move into something quite a bit more technical, namely how to measure things properly and get a good sense of proportion using visual markers. Now, Brent explains it much better than I could for a short video, so I really recommend that you try to take the class if you'd like. But generally, the gist of it is to try to look for ways that you can divide a shape, and then measure it using something that you have on hand, for example, a pen. Now, because I'm drawing this digitally, I'll try not to zoom in and out while I draw this, that way I can kind of use my drawing tablet pen as my measurement between these two photos. And like the example he gave, I'll also kind of do a study on a kettle as well. Moving on, Brent covers blocking in objects. Essentially, the goal here is to try to simplify objects into the simplest forms and block in an object using a 5-sided shape. After that, we cut and chip out more from the shape in order to block out the rest of the figure. This way, you're more focused on the proportional distance between key elements of the object instead of getting lost in the details first. So far, out of all the lessons, I found this one the most interesting and valuable. And finally, he covers exercises on how to improve your lines, details, and values. I follow along with these and have fun playing around with making different marks on the canvas and finish it up. The final class project is actually to draw something you like, but since my own plan is to do my final drawing at the end of the 7 days, I'll go ahead and skip it for now and consider us done with the first class. Now, that brings us into day 3. Now, we're moving into form and space / 3D drawing in perspective. To start off with this class, Brent emphasizes that by understanding how to draw the sphere, the cylinder, and the cube, you can draw anything observable and imaginable. He emphasizes to look at objects and think about the volume of it, which will help make things look more dimensional and less flat. We'll start off by learning how to draw the sphere. Essentially, by identifying the axis within the circle, then drawing ellipses around that. Depending on how you draw the ellipse, it can look like the sphere is sort of pointing in one direction or the other. Similarly, with cylinders, by identifying the axis of the cylinder, you can try to rotate around the cylinder and draw it accordingly. Meanwhile, with cubes, here's where Brent covers a little bit more in perspective, including 1-point, 2-point, and 3-point perspective. After copying the diagrams and drawing more cubes, let's wrap it up for day 3 and move into day 4. We start off day 4 with a still life exercise, but instead of drawing it exactly with all the details, we're simplifying objects into its most basic forms. This class emphasizes that foundational forms are the key to good drawings. You should only add shading and detail once you're confident that the foundational forms are accurate. Brent mentions that all the rendering in the world won't save something with bad form and dimension, and you should always have a solid foundation for all of your drawings. After finishing that exercise up, we also try to do some volumetric still life exercises, and then draw in various boxes at various angles. Unfortunately, I had a work emergency this day, so I couldn't finish this class, but I felt like I got the gist of it done, so let's consider this class finished enough and move into day 5. Now, for day 5, I actually got busy this day, but I still want to continue at least a little bit. Since the final class by Siobhan Toomey is a bit short, I decided to skip the class for now and save it for tomorrow, and try to first draw figure drawings without guidance. This way, on the second day, after I follow the class, I'll try to see how I improve from there. I've done gesture drawings in the past, where basically by trying to simplify and draw a figure within 15, 30, or 60 seconds, you try to capture the general movement or feeling of the pose. Some sites that you can use to try figure drawing exercises online are Pose Maniacs, Line of Action, and Quick Poses. I start by using Pose Maniacs, since despite the fact that I'm trying to learn gesture, another thing that I've never studied is breaking down all the muscles. So I hope that by doing these gestures using these images as references, I'll be able to get a better sense of how muscles move too. And oh my god, I don't think I can draw this pose if I want to keep monetization on, so I think I'm actually going to switch to a different site now. Let's go over to Line of Action now. I do a few more time gesture drawings, this time with Line of Action, and while right now my gestures are all very rough and a little bit amateurish, I think with practice, I'll get the hang of it a little bit better. And unfortunately, I get another photo that will risk my monetization, so let's try another website. This time, Quick Poses. They have more clothes or costume models, so hopefully there's no issue of this again. I do a few more gestures and call it a day. So let's move on to our final study day, day 6. Now, here is where I follow around Siobhan Toomey's figure drawing tips. This class covers 4 tips or techniques on how to improve your figure drawings in order to get used to capturing the essence of figures. These techniques were continuous line drawings, non-dominant hand drawing, drawing with a stick, and blind contours. Once again, I was pretty busy today, and I think part of the thing with doing these sorts of art challenges is learning to live with the fact that sometimes life will get in the way, and you can't do all that you plan on doing. I definitely dropped the ball a little with the gesture drawings here, but despite that, I still had fun trying out these different techniques, and I think that's all that really matters in the end. And finally, let's move into day 7, our final day. I'm now going to draw a sort of final drawing as planned, and as I put on the speed paint, I'm just going to talk through my thoughts and reflections of doing this 7-day challenge. Firstly, I definitely think I crammed way too much in the first few days. While I did get busy on day 5 and 6, I also think I was just a little bit burnt out from 4 straight days of a ton of studies. When you give yourself more time to learn and practice, not only will you not be as rushed, but with the extra time, you can try and apply it to things you like to draw too. I also rushed a lot of the practices and skimmed through some of the lessons as well, but as Brent put it, if you're not doing the practice, this is nothing more than an art history course, so definitely do the practice. If I were to do this again, I would want to focus more on anatomy and value, and also give myself more time to practice these things. Either way, I think doing these classes this past week has been really beneficial. For anyone else like me who never bothered to learn the fundamentals, I definitely encourage you to try relearning some of it, and can recommend these classes if you're not sure where to start. And with that, here's our final drawing. And that's it! Thanks for watching, and I hope it was fun to watch me and try and learn some art fundamentals in just a week. If you want to see me attempt this again, maybe with different fundamentals, let me know and comment down below. I'll see you next time. Bye bye!